My dad was very, very involved in trying to keep the project safe.
I'm from Jamaica. We were not politically involved at all. I think that there was some fear around it, and in fact, I don't even remember if my mother voted.
I'm the son of immigrants. My mother and father were both born in Ireland.
My parents were not civically involved. They're too busy working and trying to make ends meet.
I come from a town that is extremely privileged and extremely white. Thinking about racism always seemed something so far removed from our experience.
In the 70s, my mother had us rolling around on picket lines to picket for Martin Luther King's birthday to be a legal holiday.
I've been to Israel and Palestine twice. I saw these oppressive walls dividing Palestine and Israel turned into a canvas for art to make positive change in the world.
Frederick Douglass went to Ireland to escape the risk of being captured and sent back to slavery and was treated as a hero. But when he came back, he said, I wish that the Irish in America would treat me the way the Irish did. Somehow, crossing the Atlantic, the Irish kind of lost their sense of humanity.
I'm Bailey Parks. I'm 13 years old. Just graduated from 8th grade, going on to freshman year.
It's the morning Rise and Shine shout out with me, your girl CM. Shout out to the Hamden girls basketball team out here winning titles. Hamden, y'all need to come out to the girls games like you do to the boys.
Oops. And head back there. How heavy is she? She must be about maybe 50 pounds. Wow. She's almost done.
I am Robert. No, wait. No. Okay, what do I say, Robert or Bobby?
Whatever. You know what? You can say whatever you want. How do you want people to know you in this document?
Robert.
Really?
Yes. I am Robert. I am 9, and I go to Westwood School.
What do you think a beloved community is? And do you think that Hamden is a beloved community or what?
So I think beloved community as something that is maybe a bit of a romantic idea. It can be made up of a physical space. I feel like I grew up in one in the Bronx. It wasn't perfect by any means. There was crime and things happened, but it definitely was folks looking out for one another.
My understanding of the construct of beloved community is to be almost like heaven. It's a utopia. And I get what Dr. King was saying, but I think he also wrote a book on community or chaos. And so if you don't build community, you get chaos.
I'm always looking for like scrap pieces of wood. I'm always looking for scrap things. Like a lot of this stuff is like not finished yet. You can see all these like stress factors in here. But maybe if I can put some color in here. But you say that's what you want to do, but it's really circumstances that dictates how this is going to turn out.
Well, I think that a beloved community is love from within. So I think the residents of Hamden really have to love Hamden. There's still a lot of bitterness. Maybe some of it is because of taxes. Some of it may be socially rooted because of the divisions that have existed for so long and never really been dealt with.
My partner and I moved our family to Hamden in 2008. We chose Hamden because it was halfway between our jobs, it had a diverse population, and relatively good schools. We thought Hamden would be a good place to raise our children, so we bought a house and settled in. But after living in Hamden just a little while, I realized that yes, Black and brown people lived in Hamden, but Hamden was run like a whites-only club. This is a story about regular people running for office and using the power of the ballot to build a beloved community.
One day, my mother and I coming out of Walmart, we see a woman, and she comes up to my mother, Nicole Jefferson, thank you so much. This woman's almost to tears. Thank you so much. You have changed my life. I'm able to buy groceries, purchase a car, bring my kids on vacation. And I'm listening to her, and I'm making the connection in my head. My mother is monitoring the 12.5 ordinance in New Haven. In there, there's one line that says you have to have 25% minority hours and 6.9% female hours. And that's a little piece of legislation there, one little line. It changed this lady's life. I said, I could do that. I could write a line. So when I see what it means to be in like local government, I see that it's not like you're doing sweeping changes across the entire country, but you're doing sweeping changes across your neighbors. You're doing sweeping changes across your town that changes economic wealth, economic growth, generational wealth.
We have an administration. They have been for the largest corporations. They have been for the special interests, but they have not been for working families, for middle-class families, for the vulnerable. They've walked away, and now it's up to us. Yes.
The 2021 election was really interesting. We all went to the inauguration. I've never been to anything like that before, ever. Senator Blumenthal, you had all the state reps, all the state senators. We had Lieutenant Governor Susan Bicewicz there to do the swearing in. You had like the Connecticut Democratic brass here to come and acknowledge this changing of the guard. Because that's really what it was. It was more of like a regime change because we changed not just people, but we changed the culture of politics in our town.
I recall sometime before I was 9, just a little younger than Bobby Garrett, when my family lived in Virginia. I don't remember the year, but I do remember this was during the time when mothers hung ruffled or lacy curtains in the kitchen window. The table was set. Dinner was fried chicken, green beans with potatoes, sliced tomato and onion, cornbread, and there had to be dessert because my mother always made dessert. This was happiness.
What's up, Hamden? You're listening to your favorite local radio station. We want to hear from you. What do you love about Hamden?
My family and I came to Hamden in 1987. We heard it had excellent schools, convenient to go into New York. We were living in Spring Glen at the time. And Bassett Field was not too far around the corner from us. Sleeping Giant was and is a great place to spend an afternoon. And the Farmington Canal Trail was just being developed. The plaza was built, I think, in the early 60s. There was a Sears there with one of the first escalators in America.
The summer concerts were also things that we would attend, and the children could run around on this big old grassy field and would hang out with other families.
Just love the deer and the trees and all of that kind of stuff. I still work in New York, so I still get a taste of it, but I absolutely love Hamden.
I was 16. I had an aunt and uncle that lived in Hamden, Sonny and Hope Hamlet. They would pick us up and bring us to their house in Hamden for dinner, for cookouts, and things like that. And even then, I knew that when I was old enough, I would live in Hamden because it was rural enough that reminded me of home, and I just wanted to raise my family in Hamden.
When I was a very small child, we ended up moving here to Hamden. It has definitely a bit of nostalgia being back here. Still my home. Still my home. I think some of the good memories is like when I hear my dad driving up, I knew that I needed to have dinner appropriately prepared for us. I wasn't cooking. I was really like warming up some beefaroni or warming up some other particular meals that he had made from Sunday. So even then, I knew as a single parent that he was struggling a little bit, 2 jobs, trying to take care of me. So I wanted to try to do my part.
Even though I like the city, I grew up in the inner city, I wanted suburbia for my children. I wanted a place where I can raise my children, and the public school system gave them what they needed, and it wasn't such a struggle and such a fight to get it.
Although it is highly segregated, Hamden is a very diverse community with some options for access to our folks, access to our communities, access to organizations and businesses run by Black folk.
The Declaration of Independence states, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." What is happiness? Where we live has a lot to do with our level of happiness.
The first word that comes to my mind when I think about growing up in Hamden is just happy. I always felt safe. My neighborhood, Spring Glen, was predominantly white. It was large families. There's a very high Irish Catholic population. They were always very involved in the parent-teacher organization, and they were just involved in other things like the Spring Glen Garden Club. My mother was a member of that.
I'm originally from Charleston, West Virginia, born and bred there. I grew up in a segregated society, went to segregated schools until 7th grade when the Brown versus Board of Education law was passed. They closed all of the Black schools, and we had to traverse to all of the majority schools. Moving to Connecticut, I first and foremost thought was where we would live and the kind of education that I wanted our children to have. And so after being in New Haven for about 8 months, we bought in Hamden in 1971. And so very happy about that, and have lived in that same house now for 51 years, I think, yeah.
Hamden has this thing with pool clubs, private pool clubs. And so for summertime, to keep cool, if you were lucky, you belonged to one of those pool clubs.
People come into our house to visit, they would stop the cars, a police car, where are you going? Like, how could you be out here in Hamden?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of embarrassing, like, you know, having guests come to the house and they would get stopped. And one thing, my mom would never let my brother have a black leather jacket because she was like, always in the news, it's the black man in the black leather jacket. So.
Nor could they go to the plaza just to hang out like the other kids. I said, no. They will see you if they don't see anybody else. You'll be the ones that did it. So, no, you can't go. Sorry about that.
One of the first people I interviewed for One Town at a Time was little Bobby Garrett. When I asked him what he believed were the most pressing issues in the town, he quite adamantly said, taxes. What did this boy know about the impact of taxes? What I came away with is that the children are watching and listening to us. Instead of a tax problem, I think the most pressing problem plaguing Hamden is a people problem.